what I call yesterday's papers, yesterday's news. So for starters, watch this clip. If you're wondering what all that noise was about, you haven't really been watching the news, have you?
एक अनशन शुरू करने के लिए आमरण अनशन जब तक हमारे लद्दाख की ये आवाज़ सुनी नहीं जाती, जब तक सरकार लद्दाख पर ध्यान न दे.
As a social communicator and as somebody who teaches young people mass communication, I feel that I have not done my duty by discussing this particular topic in the classroom.
Good morning, friends. This is Sonam Wangchuk connecting with you from Ladakh in the Indian Himalayas. Today is the beginning of my 21st day of climate fast on water and salt. It's clear skies here and temperatures have once again dipped to -10. You can see the glass here all frozen, and together with me in these conditions are a record 350 people sleeping hungry outdoors. We are trying to remind and awaken the conscience of our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, and our Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah.
So basically, we're talking about a story of broken promises, where you have a political party which in its manifesto, you make a promise. And the promise is to the people of Ladakh that you would give them a separate state if you were voted to power.
To safeguard the fragile ecosystems of the Himalayan mountains in Ladakh and the unique indigenous tribal cultures that thrive here. We do not want to think of Modi ji and Amit Shah ji as just politicians. We would rather like to think of them as statesmen, but for that they'll have to show some character and farsightedness.
5 years have gone. You have a brute majority in the parliament, and yet after 5 years this hasn't taken place. And so when the people begin to hold you accountable, well, you just ignore them.
This morning I was looking up the difference between statesmen and politicians, and this is what I found. A politician thinks of the next election. A statesman thinks of the next generation. And this is what Wikipedia says. Politicians are thought as people who will say or do anything to get elected or to gain power. A statesman is someone who does everything for the common good of the people he or she represents. We hope that our leaders will show some statesmanship and farsightedness when it comes to especially fragile zones like the Himalayas and Ladakh and other eco-sensitive zones within the country.
It's a very important distinction and a challenge to the powers that be It's a challenge not only to the ruling party, it's also out there for our opposition leaders, whom I may say I have not heard speaking about this issue. I have not heard coming out in support of this particular initiative, this people's initiative.
And we felt so sad that such a big march and satyagraha is going on. From the local people, spontaneous satyagraha is going on. And the media is somehow not finding this as anything important. But they are not understanding it is not only important for Ladakh, it is important for the whole world. You can't be opening up these fragile areas for short-term benefits.
Because this is a case study in media ethics. This is an ongoing example of how students should look at the media.
जब हमारी नेचुरलता नहीं बचेगी, हमारे पर्वत नहीं बचेंगे, जो पर्वतों के ऊपर जो है हम जो वाइट कलर की बर्फ़ देख रहे हैं, यही नहीं बचेगी, क्योंकि यही तो किसान खेती उगाएगा तो कैसे उगाएगा जब पानी नहीं बचेंगे, तो धरती से पानी खत्म हो जाएगा, पेड़ पौधे खत्म होंगे, जो प्रकृति है जो नहीं बचेगी तो इंसान जिएगा कैसे, ऑक्सीजन कैसे लेगा, तो सारा जीवन ही खत्म हो जाएगा।
My early formation is a Jesuit formation. Okay, I studied in a Jesuit school. It's a great mantra that is very, very common in Jesuit-run institutions. We talk about building men and women for others. So I think it's time we stand up to the plate, right? We have these 6 C's that we talk about, okay? We have the 6 C's, and the 6 C's are what? It's competency, it's compassion, okay? It's of course, we talk about creativity and collaboration. We talk about conscience, okay? And commitment.
तो गवर्नमेंट को ज़रूर सपोर्ट करना चाहिए, सोचना चाहिए कि अगर इतने सारे पीपल्स लद्दाख में इस तरीके से रह रहे हैं, वो आके एक बार रुके, सही 2 दिन रुके और इस तरीके से बैठ के देखे, तो शायद उन्हें समझ आएगा कि कितना डिफ़िकल्ट है और यहाँ के लोगों की जो नीड्स है वो क्या है। वो ज़रूर उस चीज़ पे फोकस करे कि जो यहाँ के लोगों की नीड है वो ज़रूर फुलफिल होनी चाहिए, अदरवाइज़ गवर्नमेंट का कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है। गवर्नमेंट को हम चुनते हैं अपने बेनिफिट्स के लिए।
You know, when we study media criticism, one of the things that we look at, we are supposed to look at, is not only what is carried by the various news organizations, what information comes to you, but it is also very important to study what is left out. And a lot is being left out nowadays. And that is where we as communicators and we as professors and teachers and academics and people who talk about, we talk about a commitment to the environment, we talk about a commitment to liberty, fraternity, the constitution, but yet somehow these basic things aren't being discussed.
Whole of Ladakh is responding, but the media not covering it, not giving it enough importance. I felt so sad, so we came all the way just to say that we're all with you. People of India with you. And don't get disheartened.
Now you may ask, who is this Sonam Wangchuk? I think students, you should just Google him and find out a lot about him, even in that very unreliable source called Wikipedia.
लोगों को समझना चाहिए कि सिर्फ लद्दाख के लिए नहीं, या वांगचुक या उनकी लोगों ने, यहाँ के लोगों ने जो कर रहे हैं वो खुद के लिए नहीं कर रहे हैं। ये पॉलिटिशियंस नहीं है, आम आदमी है, देश के लिए कर रहे हैं।
So what are we talking about in our foundation and mentoring classes? Do we as educators have a conscience? Do we have educators have commitment? Do we have educators think about, compassion.
For instance, we are from down south. We were so hurt that in the mainstream media there's no coverage of it. And the first news we got of this was only because of social media. People sending reels of the huge protests. We didn't even know there were so many people in Ladakh. When we saw the streets filled, and there's not a line in the national media. So we thought it is the responsibility of every citizen to actually come here and stand with all of you.
There are 4 basic, demands that the people of Ladakh are putting forward. The first is a tribal status under the 6th schedule. The second is a full-fledged state. The third is that they are looking for 2 parliamentary constituencies, one for Ladakh area and one for Kargil area. And the fourth is the establishment of a public service commission. Things which I may say have been promised but not delivered.
और मुझे लगता है कि लद्दाख की अस्मिता के लिए, 6 शेड्यूल के लिए, स्टेटहुड के लिए और यहाँ के जल, जंगल और ज़मीन जो एक ट्राइबल्स का भी राइट है जो हमें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन देता है, उसके लिए 21 दिन का ये जो हंगर स्ट्राइक सोनम वांगचुक जी कर रहे हैं। अब तक हम लोगों ने फिल्मों में ही देखा था कि किस तरह से रेबेलियन होते हैं, किस तरह से प्रोटेस्ट होते हैं और किस तरह से एक शिक्षावादी व्यक्ति एक देश को और अपने क्षेत्र को बदलता है। आज हमारे पीछे इस भीड़ में जो महिला शक्ति है, माता और बहनों को इस देख से अंदाज़ा लगाया जा सकता है कि सोनम वांगचुक जी का जो कॉज है वो नोबल कॉज है और वो जेन्युइन कॉज है।
इतना बड़ा हिस्से पे यहाँ पे धरना हो रहा है लेकिन मीडिया नहीं बता रहे, वो छुपा रहे हैं। तो इससे पीछे कौन है? तो ये जानबूझ के कर रहे हैं लोग।
You see, when the BJP went out to the people of Ladakh, they promised them statehood. 5 years have gone, nothing has taken place. And so they wanted to remind them of their demands, more than the demands, the promises that were not kept. And of course, nothing happened. 30,000 people marched that day, but the mainstream media didn't think it important enough to carry. Thereafter, Sonam Wangchuk went on a 21-day climate fast.
तो बहुत ज़रूरी है हम इनके साथ खड़े हुए, क्योंकि ये कि हमारे भविष्य के बारे में बोल रहे हैं। इनको समझ में आ रहा है कि भविष्य का आतंक क्या होगा। इन्होंने पहले समझ चुके हैं, ये जो बोल रहे हैं उनका आवाज़ को हमको सुनना है। एंड स्पेशली एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम हमने सोचा था इनके साथ खड़ा होने का बहुत ज़रूरत है, बिकॉज वो हमारी जिम्मेदारी होता है, हमारा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होता है। सो आई रिक्वेस्ट एवरीवन, दिस इज अ लार्जर क्राइसिस लूमिंग. There is a larger crisis looming.
Perhaps we haven't been talking about this big agitation, this very important issue of saving our environment that Sonam Wangchuk is spearheading. And the reason is maybe we weren't aware of it. So that's why it's my duty to make you aware of it.
हिमालयास को बचाना है कि this is where we get our water from. Especially all the rivers. ऐसे हमें इसको तोड़ते जाएंगे इस नेचर को, आखिर में कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, हमको कुछ नहीं रहेगा जीने के लिए.
If we are going to let our fragile Himalayan ranges be sold out to corporates who will mine there or who will destroy the environment, well, Bangalore today is facing a severe water crisis, and that water crisis is going to hit your homes, my home. So it's high time, just as Sonam Wangchuk has said, it's high time for you people who have brains, you people who can understand, to think very carefully before you vote for people who come out with false promises they don't intend to keep.
So it is our responsibility to think, to really see the danger of the future. You have to reimagine the future. कि क्या होने वाला है. So we have come here to show in solidarity, to thank this wonderful soul, this great leader Wangchuk, who has taken it upon himself, who's suffering himself so that we get the liberation. Let us all together as a voice spread it, continue to talk about this wherever we go and make this movement bigger.
आज पहला चरण जो अनशन का है 21 दिन का, उसका अंत है, मगर ये सिलसिला, ये आंदोलन का अंत नहीं है, एक नई शुरुआत है. कल से ही नए सिलसिले शुरू होंगे, महिलाओं का अनशन शुरू होगा. ऐसे ही करते ये जितनी देर तक हमें करना पड़े ये आगे बढ़ता रहेगा. इसमें मैं जो यहाँ पर आज 7-10 हज़ार लोग जमा हुए हैं उनका तो धन्यवाद करता ही हूँ, और जो पिछले 20-21 दिन में 40,000 के करीब लोग हमसे जुड़े हर दिन, और उससे पहले 30,000 लोग पोलो ग्राउंड में जुड़े, तो ऐसा करके लगभग 60-70 हज़ार लोग जुड़े, जो कि पूरे लद्दाख के वयस्क जनसंख्या का 1/3 आबादी हो जाता है. और उधर कारगिल में हमारे साथी ऐसा ही अनशन कर रहे हैं, वहाँ भी 10 हज़ारों में लोग जुड़ रहे हैं. तो इससे ज़्यादा जनमत क्या हो सकता है लोकतंत्र में.
Well, that's all for today. I've done my bit. I just want you to think about the environment, to think about our lifestyles, and I do support the people of Ladakh. I do support what Sonam Wangchuk is talking about, because if our glaciers, if our Himalayan ranges, okay, we are going to interfere with them, we are bound for disaster. And the question is this: how many of those in politics today are mere politicians? Or is there a statesman among you? Somebody who will think beyond your petty party politics.
Because governments will come and go, they will become insensitive. We, the citizens, we the human beings, we are permanent here, and we are the ones who are going to lose. This sort of corporatization, industrialization may help the governments, the big people, the pockets of the rich. वो परिणाम जो है, the pain जो है, repercussions जो है, हम सब लोगों को संभालना पड़ेगा. We are going to take the brunt, and we are the majority.
Well, India is the mother of democracy. We citizens have a very special power. We are the kingmakers. We can compel a government to change their ways or change the government if that doesn't work. So let's remember to use our ballot power very carefully this time in the interest of the nation.